Hi friends, how are we doing today? How is everybody? I am doing pretty well. Not much interesting going on to talk about, but I thought that today we could go through my list of videos, go through my list of artists that I've seen live. I have already done this in a video, and I know it's kind of weird to be repeating videos when I've only had my channel for 3 months. However, the first time I did this video, I did not have any sort of microphone, and I just wanted to re-record it now that I have a mic. Because A, I really like talking about the concerts that I've been to, and B, I think the audio quality in all the videos that I recorded without a mic is absolutely terrible, so yeah, that's where we're at right now. This is going to be quite a long video because I've seen quite a lot of concerts. The unofficial artist count on the top of I made a chart. I have a chart. Let's get to that first. It's a chart that has the artist, the date, the venue, who I went with, and comments about the show. This is 142 artists. Some of the artists I've seen multiple times, so it's probably a little over 150 shows. Going to concerts is a big thing that I did and still do with my dad. Music is a really big part in our family. However, none of us have any musical talent. We are just music appreciators. Yeah, I went to my very first concert when I was just under 2 months old. And I have not stopped since. Go to music festivals with my dad, mostly like bluegrass festivals and stuff. All the dads in my neighborhood growing up had a band together that my dad ran sound for. It was called the Jug Band, and they would play at like any little neighborhood event or, Christmas parties, all sorts of birthday parties, all sorts of stuff. So yeah, live music has just been like a really big part of my life, and I wanted to talk about it again. So my list is in alphabetical order. Sorry. Not chronological order. Yeah. So the very first person on my list is Alanis Morissette. I saw Alanis Morissette last summer. I got tickets like 2 days beforehand. And I saw her at the Freedom Mortgage Pavilion in New Jersey. And I went alone. It was a 3-part show, as in 3 artists. But I'll get to the other 2 later. I had never seen Alanis before. And to be quite honest, I wasn't entirely familiar with her music. I obviously knew her like top songs, and You Oughta Know was like a religious experience to be watching. Like the whole venue was just full of like, I don't know, middle-aged lesbians singing You Oughta Know. Not all lesbians. I'm not grouping them all together. But yeah, she's really cool. She is so high energy. Her stamina is just amazing. And then next up on the list is one of the bands I saw at one of the Warped Tours I went to. This one was called Alestorm. A-L-E Storm. These guys were nuts. It was like kind of a bizarre show. My comments for the show is just 5 question marks in a row. Yeah, it's I don't remember much because it was in well, actually, I didn't put the date. I'm not sure which Warped Tour it was, but the most recent it could have been was like 2018. So, but I remember being confused. Next up are the 3 Alex Lahey shows I've gone to. I saw Alex Lahey in 2019, in 2022, and in 2023. The first time I went with my dad, second time I went with a friend, and the third time I went with a different friend. I love Alex Lahey. She is a Australian musician. She comes to the States occasionally. She is such a fun performer. She has a song that she like whips out a saxophone for, and everybody starts cheering for the saxophone. It's just so fun, and her songs are like really catchy. I have a few pictures with her. She's quite nice. I've met her at 2 of the different shows. So, then I saw Alison Krauss in 2019 for the Outlaw Music Fest. I have been to 3 or 4 Outlaw Music Fests, I believe. But this was the one in 2019. Went with my father. I really like Alison Krauss. She's cool. I saw Alison Russell in 2022. She was opening for Brandi Carlile. Definitely not a cheerful set. She talked a lot about a abusive family member in her life. So it kind of like that set the mood for the rest of the show. Not the rest of the show, the rest of her set. But she's very talented. I technically saw Ariana Grande in 2018 at the March for Our Lives. I went to the March for Our Lives in Washington, D.C. after the Parkland shooting, and technically I saw Ariana Grande. She sang one song. Another Outlaw Music Fest band I've seen is the Avett Brothers. I don't really care about the Avett Brothers. I'm gonna be so real with you. Yeah, they didn't interest me very much, but they were at the Outlaw Music Fest, so I saw them. They didn't stick very much in my mind. Alright. I saw a band called Bad Cop, Bad Cop at 2017 Warped Tour. I did get a picture with them. They're very friendly. I love just an all-girl rock band. Super fun. It was so hot, like temperature-wise, that day, and I was so sweaty, and they were so sweaty, and we just took the sweatiest picture together. But they're really good. I really liked them. I don't listen to them as much anymore, and not for any particular reason. Just kind of, you know, it was 2017, it's 2025. I also, in 2017, saw a band called Bad Seed Rising. Bad Seed Rising was a rock band based in my hometown. They formed from, I believe, the branch of School of Rock that was in our hometown. They actually were on the Warped Tour circuit for a little bit in 2017. No, in 2016. But I don't know if you guys remember how Warped Tour worked, but sometimes smaller bands would only join in for like half, and then they'd get swapped out by another smaller band for like the second half, and they were one of the ones that got swapped out, and they actually got swapped out before the Maryland date, which was kind of silly because that's their state. But I ended up seeing them several months later in 2017 at just a local venue. I actually saw them right before they broke up, but I hope the lead singer is doing something now because she had like an amazing voice. I saw Balin in 2019 at the Altria Theater, which, if you don't know the Altria Theater, it is in Maryland. It is beautiful. But I saw them opening for Hozier. I'd never heard of them before. I was very impressed by their show. Lovely harmonies. Saw the Barbed Wire Dolls at Warped Tour, but the friend I went with pulled me away from them, so I didn't see their whole set, which is kind of sad. I have seen the Bare Naked Ladies twice. Saw them in 2018 with my whole family, and 2019 with my dad and brother. They're so fun. In 2019, they did a cover of Old Town Road, which was, very popular at the time, and it was just really fun. I love when artists don't take themselves seriously, or too seriously, I guess I should say. I saw Beabadoobee, just this past September at the Philadelphia Museum of Art, completely unexpectedly and kind of by accident. If you don't know, the PMA has Friday night lounges, where you can pay like $15 to kind of go after hours, and they serve food and alcohol and stuff, and they always have like live music playing, and it's super cool. But she was not the band of the night. We walked in, and this lady stopped us and was like, "Hey, are you guys interested in a free Beabadoobee concert?" And we were like, "Yeah, sure." Like, we kind of thought she was like scamming us. And we definitely didn't think that it was like right now. But she was like, "Okay, follow me." And we like followed her up these steps into a members only area, and she took us out onto the balcony, one of the balconies of the PMA, and it's just this little balcony, and right at the end of it was Beabadoobee sitting in a folding chair recording for the radio, which was like super cool. It was a super intimate concert, and she basically said that her guests got stuck in traffic and they couldn't make it, and it looked like we would enjoy the show, and we did. me and my friend were like dancing, like ballroom dancing up on the balcony to Beeba Doobie, and we got other people dancing, and it was so fun. So that is one of my favorite stories, just kind of accidentally getting this. I mean, I swear there were like 20 people there. It was like a super, super intimate concert. And we were all like crammed on this little balcony. Alright, I saw Beach Bunny in 2021 at the All Things Go Fest. I believe that was the first year of All Things Go, and it rained so hard. It rained so horribly. And Beach Bunny was like one of the first artists. I believe it was... Why am I blanking? I'll have it later on the list, but she was like the first or second artist that we saw. I think there were some smaller ones that played before, but like when we got there, she was the first or second artist, and it was just pouring down rain, and my dad and I had these super cheap plastic ponchos that were like dissolving on us because they were so cheap. But they were good. They were really fun. I saw the Beths at Union Transfer in 2023. I saw them alone. I do enjoy going to concerts alone. But it kind of wasn't as good of a performance as I had been hoping. I really like the Beths, but I've been to a lot of shows, and this one just was not a standout one for me, unfortunately. I really wanted it to be. I also saw Big Thief at Union Transfer in 2019. I went with two people that I do not speak to anymore. One of whom I had a major crush on. We were right up at the stage, right up at the barrier, and we were like, I don't know, 3 feet away from Adrienne Lenker, just like staring up and watching. It was super cool. I saw Bikini Kill at Terminal 5, New York City in 2019 for their comeback tour. I graduated high school in 2019, and I missed the first day of my senior week to go to this show with my dad, and I actually almost passed out at the show because I wanted to be in the pit. I was like a row or two back from the barrier, and my dad didn't want to be in the pit, so he was like up on a balcony. And I was so overheated and dehydrated. It was early June. We were packed shoulder to shoulder. It was so hot in that venue, and I didn't have any water. And because I was alone in the pit and I had fought so hard, we got there like 4 hours early. I had fought so hard for that spot. I like couldn't leave it because I couldn't get back if I left it. But I ended up almost passing out, and I had to go leave and sit on the floor at the very back of the venue for Rebel Girl. I had like waited so long and fought so hard, and I didn't even get to be at the front for Rebel Girl. So lessons were definitely learned that day. Please always make sure you're hydrated. Alright, I saw Blondie also in 2019 at the Anthem with my dad, and what was really funny is I saw her a few days before Bare Naked Ladies, and she also did a cover of Old Town Road. So I went to like 2 shows less than a week apart with artists that you wouldn't expect to do a cover of Old Town Road, but they did. I love Blondie. I have a photo of Blondie or Debbie Harry and Joan Jett up on my wall. seen Bob Dylan 3 times. Yeah, I've seen him 3 times. I saw him in 2009 at the Cal Ripken Stadium. I was 8 years old. It also poured down rain the whole time, and we ended up having to like hide under like the roof in the stadium because it started like thunder and lightning, and they had to like pause the show for a little bit. I also saw him in 2014. My comment on this was remembered as my favorite Bob Dylan show. He was in a good mood. And he was. I really enjoyed that show. And he was quite cheerful. And then I saw him this past summer for a 3rd time at the Outlaw Music Fest. And he played Ballad of a Tin Man, which he hadn't played either of the times that I'd seen him. Alright, I saw Bonnie Raitt also last year. I drove to Baltimore to see it. No, just kidding. I drove to DC to see it. And I was almost late because I stopped for Taco Bell because I was so hungry. I saw Boston in 2017. Boston falls under the category of bands I saw because someone I liked better was opening for them. In this case, Joan Jett was opening for them, and my dad made us stick around for some of the Boston show. I have also seen Brandi Carlile 3 times. 3 times. I saw her in 2018, 2019, and 2022. I do love Brandi Carlile. I definitely think I am going to hold off on seeing her again, at least until she puts another album out. Specifically because I love Brandi. I think her voice is amazing. Her shows are so fun. But she's definitely not an artist that, like, really has sets that lend themselves to seeing multiple times. She kind of does the same set over and over again, and there's nothing wrong with that. Especially because most people at the shows haven't seen her before, but once you've seen her 3 times, you kind of start being like, this is the same set. And, you know, that's fine. It really is, and she's wonderful, and I love her. But I'm definitely gonna hold off for a little bit. I saw the Brothers in 2017. They were opening for somebody. I don't remember them. I saw Bruce Springsteen this past September at Camden Yards. We actually ended up running into some family friends unexpectedly who were sitting in the row in front of us. I am very glad that I've seen Bruce Springsteen. However, it was a long show. I'm not a big 3-hour set person. I'm just not. And I pretty much reached my limit at the 2-hour mark. I had just been coming off a kind of rough week at work. It was on a Friday. Done a lot of driving. And I'm not the kind of person who gets like overstimulated a lot. I need to put quotations on that. That's absolutely a real thing. I work with autistic children. Getting overstimulated is totally something that happens, but it's not usually something that happens to me. I got super overstimulated at that show. It he was definitely super drunk, and my mom was having a really fun time because she loves Bruce Springsteen. And he just kept making comments about like how hot she was. Or being like, oh, you're like Mary Tyler Moore up there. I was like, why are you talking about Mary Tyler Moore? I ended up having to step out and just go like stand where there were no people for a little bit because it was so much. So the Carolina chocolate drops in 2012 with my whole family. My family was big on the Carolina chocolate drops. I think Rihanna Giddens has one of the most beautiful voices, and they make really good music. Or they have since broken up, but Cautious Clay was another artist that I saw at All Things Go in 2021, and don't remember much about him. I'm super sorry. I saw Celise last summer at the Outlaw Music Fest. I was very impressed by her. She was up on stage with pretty much a bunch of legends, because Bob Dylan, Willie Nelson, Robert Plant, Alison Krauss, and she's up there with her 5,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, holding her own. I really thought I would have been so nervous, and I think she did just a really good job. My family took a trip to Nashville in 2016, and we saw an artist showcase at the Grand Ole Opry, and one of the last people on stage was Charlie Daniels in a bright yellow suit, playing Devil Went Down to Georgia, obviously, and that was very fun. I saw Cheap Trick in 2018. It was like a Father's Day request from my dad. He was like, I really want to go see Cheap Trick. Will you come with me? I was like, yeah, sure. And I actually really, really enjoyed it. They put on a really good show. Yeah, I can't say Cheap Trick was ever a band that was on my radar or anything, but it was one of my favorite shows I went to that year. Alright, so there was another local band in my hometown called Cheshire, and I saw them twice. I saw them the first time at the same show as Bad Seed Rising. I was very impressed by them. And then I saw them later on. I want to say a year or two later. I didn't keep the date because it was just a free show. It wasn't like I had tickets or anything. For their very final show before they broke up. They're great. They were really cool. Okay. This past summer, my dad and I went to go see a show at Bethel Woods where they held Woodstock. And the band opening was Counting Crows. And I'm gonna be so honest, it was one of my least favorite shows I have ever seen. They have no stage presence. The show felt like it lasted forever. It was a terrible show. And we went to go see Santana, but I'll talk about him later. And apparently they've like toured a lot with Santana, and he really likes them. But like, oh my god, they sucked. They sucked. And my dad and I were just sitting there, and every time they started a new song, we were like, there's another one. I don't know, some people just don't have the stage presence. Yeah. I saw Cyndi Lauper in 2017. I love Cyndi. Love her. She did a cartwheel on stage. She's so kid, there was this band that was more or less local that did a lot of shows for my dad. My dad used to host music events, and he ran a film festival for a while, and he'd have musical artists play at events for the film festival as well. So that was how I came to know them, and they were one of the first bands that I ever got obsessed with as a kid. Really liked their song, Grandma Was a Crop Duster, which is about a lady who used to be a crop duster, flying planes and stuff over fields, and it's just about how she died, and she's like crop dusting in heaven. Also a song called Groundhog, which I believe is just about killing a groundhog. But I was really, really into them as a kid, and I've seen them, like, I don't know how many times, because I was a little kid. Also, we're getting to 30 minutes, and I'm only at the D's, so I'm thinking I might make this a 2-part video. I'll do E and F, because I only have one E musician and 2 F musicians, and then I'll pick up with G in the next video, okay? So, our final D musician is Dump Him, which is a band I saw in 2019. It was a basement show that I went to, like, my first week of college. Someone that I had met was like, hey, I know someone in this band. They're doing a basement show. Come into the city and let's go. And we did. And it was really fun. We were most definitely the youngest people there. And everyone else there definitely knew each other. And it was like a little awkward, but it was fun. I saw Elvis Costello in 2019 at the Anthem. It was the same show that I saw Blondie at. It was like, yeah, I ended up buying a shirt for this Elvis Costello Blondie show, and I wore it to work at the independent bookstore that I worked at the next day, and some old guy came up to me and was like, did you really see them, or did you just buy that for the nostalgia? And I was like, so the date on this shirt was yesterday, so I really didn't buy it for the nostalgia. Like, if I was gonna go for a vintage vibe, I probably wouldn't have bought one that said 2019 on it. I saw Faye Webster at the All Things Go Fest in 2022. I went to that one with a friend of mine. She was not the artist that I went to see. She was more of an artist that my friend wanted to see. She was good. I saw Fletcher in 2024 at the Fillmore. I went with a friend who wanted to see her. She is a very good performer. She has a lot of really good stage presence. Not particularly an artist that I would listen to in my spare time, or free time, I guess. But she was very enjoyable. It was a very enjoyable show. Good energy. I love good energy. I want the artists to look like they want to be there. I want the artists to be having fun. So yeah, that is A through F of my artists that I've seen. We will pick up later with F through, I believe it goes to W. I don't think I've seen any Z musicians. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed hearing me ramble